Okay, we are live.
We're live, huh?
Yes,
Live and kicking.
yes. What am I seeing behind you? Your chair?
You're seeing behind me part of my chair, yes.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to You've Got Mel with our illustrious guest today, Shay Tochner, who's going to sit down in a moment. Shai, we begin our program with my jingle, which took years to write and thousands of dollars to produce. So we're going to do the jingle, if that's okay with you.
I think it's okay. I'm a guest.
Okay. But you've got Mel.
Get a chair, grab a seat, or we'll sweep you off your feet. We move, we groove, you got Mel. Ease your legs, rest a while, all you gotta do is smile. We're swell, can't you tell you got Mel? When the show begins, you better hold on real tight, or before you know it, you'll be high as a kite. Take a break, settle down, we're the only show in town. SRO, don't you know you got Mel? Give it up, don't think twice, we're a hurricane on ice. What the hell, give a yell, ring your bell, show and tell. Mademoiselle, give a smell, you got Mel.
You've got Mel. And Mel has Shay Tochner. Hey, Shay.
Hi, how are you?
Fine. I'm so honored that you're on the show. And I want you to start at the very beginning and briefly tell us who you are and how you played with Tom Paxton, and then you can go.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I was born in Jerusalem, Israel, in Mamila, the old neighborhood of Mamila. I was born 1950. I grew up in, how would I say, in a very challenging environment. Most of our neighbors were Olim Chadashim, new immigrants from all over the place. Basically had no close friends from my neighbors. So I spent my childhood actually in two institutes. One of them was the YMCA, where I actually did sports most of the time and studied languages, English and French. And the most of the time as during my high school, or actually um, from my seventh grade up, was in the library of the American Congress, the copy of the Library of the American Congress in the Jerusalem American Consulate, which was like about 200 meters from me. So basically, I grew up listening to American music from the age of 11 or 12. And that was actually my main occupation, my preoccupation during high school, except for sport.
And so you actually grew up near where the demonstrations are these days in Jerusalem.
I don't go to the demonstrations. First of all, I don't.
I said you grew up not too far from the demonstrations.
I grew up, but there were no demonstrations at that time. The only thing which was actually going on that time, the window where I grew up was facing the wall of the old city. And whenever the Jordanians felt like it, they were shooting into our windows, like was into other windows there. That was the environment I grew up in. But we had a very nice childhood there. No complaints about my childhood, basically, whatsoever.
Okay, so and you became a musician at the age of 6 or at the age of 10? There's conflicting discussions here, because you say that you started recorder when you were 6. That doesn't turn you into a musician.
No, I actually started recorder and harmonica player when I was 6 years old. My uncle, who's my mother's brother, used to be her harmonica player. He did not play the American second position. He played first position on a diatonic harmonica like this one. And he actually taught me the basics when I was about 5 years old or 6 years old. So I played the harmonica, but harmonica was not considered to be an instrument by that time. So I went to the conservatory to learn the recorder. I still have the recorders here all over the place. And after a few months, I was thrown out of the conservatory because I could not read the music. So the teacher told my parents I will never be able to play music in my life.
Well, you're in good company because the Beatles never learned to read music, and that didn't seem to hurt them.
Listen, I can read the music now note by note, but then trying to interpret them into playing it take me a while. I mean, if you send me something to learn from music, it can take me like 20 hours, like a 2 minutes piece, which some people can play within a second. But I can guarantee you, I dive much deeper into the music while learning it this way than people who play don't know what they're playing.
For sure. Can you play something on the harmonica right now?
I can play simultaneously with the guitar, so it sounds a bit better, you know.
Sure. And you took up the guitar when you were 10.
About 10, yeah. When I was 10, I got the first guitar. My mother was a singer in the army during the Independence War.
Really?
Yes, you can see pictures in my Facebook. She was performing in front of soldiers, and her accompanist was a very famous musician called Naftali Aharoni. He used to be a double bass player, and his brother used to be a trumpet player. Naftali Aharoni's son, Dubi, he wrote the song En Gedi. He passed away like about 2 years ago. So Naftali went with my mother to Sapir shop in Jerusalem, Ben Yehuda Street, to pick up my first guitar.
1 second. Sapir shop in Ben Yehuda Street.
Yeah.
You're giving me goosebumps now.
Yeah. That was when in 1960. That was the date. I think it was about September 1960, exactly 60 years ago. I went with my mother didn't understand anything in guitars. She picked up Naftali Aharoni, who used to live not far from there. He used to live in Hillel Street, or Shammai Street, sorry, in Ben Hillel Street, Ben Hillel. And he picked up Naftali, and he went with me to Sapir, and we picked up my first guitar.
You know, I knew Mr. Sapir quite well.
Ah, you knew Sapir? Uri Sapir?
Yeah, he was a clairvoyant. Did you know that?
Yes.
He was a medium.
Mm-hmm. I knew the family very well. I actually taught his daughter Osnat for a while.
Amazing.
When I was a student, I taught his daughter guitar.
The things that I find out when I interview friends.
Yeah.
So you fell in love with the guitar, and you had this love of everything folk, country, and ethnic.
Yeah, what I was doing by that time, I was actually I took about 10 lessons or something like this in the YMCA, of course, in the IMCA. That's everything I did. And after 10 lessons, I realized I cannot go any further because I could not read the music. And the teacher was actually very set in his ways, because he said he can teach me a few chords, but he cannot go on with me doing more complicated stuff because I could not read the music. I figured out many years later that I was some sort of dyslexic to reading notes. So I had to stop, and I moved to the Gimnasia Rechavia, and there was a music teacher there called Biron. And I told him the story, and he said that he's willing to give me a few lessons, more advanced course and things like this. So I took about 3 or 4 lessons with Moshe Biron, his name was, and that was my last time I ever learned anything officially. That was Kita Hey.
Amazing. So you went on when you were about 17 or 18. You started to perform professionally.
Yeah, I actually, as I said, I learned a lot of music, from the library until I got my first record player, which was in the age of 16 or something like that.
Wow.
But then I was taking records, vinyl from the library, from they had a full copy of the Congress Folk Library there. I still
Wow.
have it until now. And I listened, I learned the music. And then, fortunately, two institutes came in Jerusalem. One of them by a person you probably know called Dan Biron,
Hmm.
the husband of Sari Raz.
Yeah.
Worked on television, a TV director, and he also used to be the legendary manager of the orchestra of the Jerusalem University Dance Group.
Hmm.
Dan Biron, very famous all over Israel, and basically he opened a club, and he called it Hootenanny. Now used to be in Jerusalem in a place called Pus Pus in Nachalat Shiva, in the not far where the tavern was. And Shuli Natan used to play there as Mora Chayelet, like a soldier teacher, and many others. And I used to play there occasionally with other people. Then, before I went to the army, I wanted to go to do music, but I could not. I was considered to be sportai mitzrayen. I don't know what's the term in English for that.
An outstanding sportsman.
Yes.
In
So
what area?
I used to be a table tennis player. I used to be a basketball player. I played in high leagues, and I also
I used to be a basketball player.
yeah. You can look at some pictures in my Facebook. You'll be
One
shocked.
second. When you were 18, you were 6'10", and then you kind of shrunk with the years.
Yeah, I used my height. I, I'm 5'7". I used to be 5'7". No, but I used to be very, very good sport. So basically, my gym teacher, my gym teacher at school, and the manager of the sport department in the YMCA actually sorted out and gave me recommendations. So I got into the army in a route to be a physical fitness officer. So basically, everything else was blocked for me. So I went into the army and I did the courses. And actually, when I finished officer's course and I was free to go, I actually then started performing all over the place. That was actually the age, officially started playing at the age of 19, but I played before 17 and 18 non-professionally, like an amateur, but not at the age of
Shai, this was basically by ear.
that's basically by ear. Yeah, playing
So
with
all of your beautiful and wonderful finger picking techniques. These are things that you taught yourself.
yeah, and basically I was basically sitting with people. I told you I grew up in Mamila, and in 1966 they built something which also was a big change of my life. Just across the street from my parents' house, they built a Hebrew Union College. If you know
Right.
what, and the Hebrew Union College.
Reform Judaism.
Yes, and actually, a lot of American students came there for a one-year program. And fortunately, I would say about 40% of those people were musicians who played guitar, banjos, all these instruments. And I used to hang out with them and play with them and learn from them the finger picking technique. And I can definitely say that I was the first Israeli born who played the finger picking technique.
Now's a good time. Now's a good time to play something on your guitar, Shai.
I did not get ready to play anything, but I hope you can see the guitar. If not, I'll move forward, but I hope you can still hear. And this guitar was obviously in tune when I bought it.
It's okay.
Yeah. This is like to my
I have to buy you some new equipment for the computer.
I have great equipment. I used to be a computer person for
I
40.
know, but there's something with the sound. It's either you or me. So play away.
I could actually, for recording, I have equipment here. I have a sound card and I have everything, but I did not I did not think I'll play live that much. But anyway, can you hear it?
Sure. Splendid. That was wonderful. That was amazing.
Thanks. I'll tell you later about the later stage of my life where I went to the United Kingdom. But basically, I started playing when I was right in the army. Played with a lot of people, some very famous Israeli singers. I played many years with the Shuli Natan. I played many years with Susie Miller, and lately I've been playing with her alone again a little bit. And I played with Ruchama Raz when she was very young, and of course my legendary band, the Taverners. We made the history. We played all over the place. I think we have the record of number of live shows any band did in Israel, especially in Eilat. We used to go there every winter. We used to go there every month for a whole week to perform. We used to alternate with other bands. You probably know the 60s and Siheiman.
Sure.
The 60s was there for 1 week, and then we came for 1 week, and the Siheiman for 1 week. And
Okay, so I know lots of these people. I know C, and I know Susie well, and Ruchama Raz from many years ago.
yeah, I haven't played with Ruchama since the 70s.
So listen, this is all incredible, but you also had a career as a computer scientist.
Yeah.
And how did that work with your gigs? Because it wasn't just like people like me who gig once a week. You were gigging like crazy.
This is a very funny story to say. When I was in the army, I was in physical fitness, of course, and for some reason my medical profile dropped down, and I was already studying by that time in Bar Ilan, and they gave me an option to leave the army, but I said, can I continue? So that's the reason. You can take a course, you can take a test, a psychometric test, and if you pass it, you can extend your commitment to the army for 1 more year, and then go to the computers. Then what I did, and then in the, let's say, the last 2 years of the army, including 1 year of Keva, I was in computers. And then after finishing the army, I went to study computer science, studied in Jerusalem in Hadassah Community College, which could not give a BA at that time. And in parallel, I studied in the Hebrew University. I studied economics and international relations. But I wanted to complete my degree in computers. So actually the only institute in the world who were willing to recognize the 2 years that I studied in Hadassah Community College was in Scotland, near my family. So I actually, later on during the years, it wasn't immediately, but I completed my degree there in computer science in Edinburgh.
I didn't know that. Is that where you met Donovan?
I met Donovan while I was working in London. He left Scotland when he was quite young. I used to hang out in a club in London. It used to be a legendary folk club, which does not exist anymore, called Bungees. There is a book about Bungees. It's called Night in the Cellar. You can find it on the net. And I mentioned there and everything. And I have a lot of friends from this period. And I was there at least 2-3 times a week. And everybody showed up. Paul Simon, Donovan, all the Pentangle people, all the Fairport Convention, everybody. I got friendly with anybody, I got friendly with the scene. And the funny thing, how did I get into that? Did you know Sid Katznel?
No.
Sid Katznel was a musician in Israel who lived in Ra'anana, used to be a math professor. And Sid Katznel, he's a cousin of cousin. He's from Glasgow originally. And he moved to London in the beginning of the 70s. And his roommate was Davy Graham. Davy Graham was actually one of the best guitarists ever born. He was the one who wrote the tune Angie. The tune Angie, the Simon and Garfunkel played. Even Simon and Garfunkel, they related to Davy Graham.
Wow. Can you play a few bars of that? I love that song.
But actually, the story about this tune is, even though David Graham was credited for the tune and Simon and Garfunkel credited him, Sid Katznel claimed until the day he died, he claimed that David Graham stole it from him. If you don't believe me, you can ask a very good mutual friend of ours. Ask Eli Marcus. Eli Marcus heard the story from Sid Katznel many, many times. Wow. Sid Katznel insisted until the day he died that he wrote the tune Angie.
Listen, you and I have a friend, I'm not going to mention names,
who
claims to this day that he wrote a Beatles song.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I know, we both know, so we won't mention it now because
no, but this is not the reason why I'm telling you. I'm telling you
okay.
about David Graham. Because I used to visit them in the flat. Through them, I actually got into the British folk scene. I knew everybody, Bert Jansch, John Raymond, and everybody. And I started playing. And one of the nights I played in the Bungees. There I met Donovan, and actually there was a woman with him, and she actually suggested to me to play in few of gigs with him. So actually started. So now you ask, how did this combine with my computer career? Okay.
No. First of all, I want you to play a little bit of Angie.
Oh, I played a little bit. That's why I remember. I can do it, but I tune the guitar better for that. Anyway, so it was very, 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 very hard because I had bands going on both in Israel and in the United Kingdom. And I used to travel back and forth all the time. I spent like average of 35 flights a year. That was, I used to work for a British subsidiary of a company. At the beginning, it used to be called Burroughs, and then it changed.
Burroughs, sure, I remember Burroughs.
It was changed
Burroughs
to
Business Machines.
Yes, and then it used to be called Unisys. It's the same company, just changed the name. Michael Blumenthal was the president of the company. Anyway, so I actually managed to work for Unisys, and some of the some of the months I used to stay in Israel, support Israeli customers. I cannot mention all of them, but the ones I can mention is a bank discount bank, and also some other of the big firms. So I used to travel, and I had to coordinate the gigs between being here and being there. And the good thing is that the last years working for UNICEF in the United Kingdom, I got a special arrangement to work 12 hours a day and have 3 days free in the weekend. It means Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I didn't have to work. I worked 12 hours a day for many, many years. So I could manage, a tour in the weekends. And that was quite tough and quite difficult, but I managed.
And I saw that picture of you and Tom Paxton. Where's that from?
Okay, I met Tom Paxton again in the Bungees. And actually we met. I played with him in a few places. Then I played with him for actually 2 gigs there. And then he was supposed to come to Israel to perform in Jacob's Ladder. So Menachem and Yudit asked him, do you want to play alone? Because it was a very, very big stage, like a few thousands of people. So he said, no, I want a guitarist. So I said, what guitarist do you want? So he remembered, he said, hey, Shay Tochner. Does he? I know he used to live in Israel. So of course we know him actually. So I did like a few gigs with him here, and then after here he went to the United Kingdom to even bigger places. So I toured with him a little bit. I played with him a few gigs there, and he went back to America. I don't think he ever came back to the United Kingdom. By the way, by that time, Donovan never had any clue, actually until last year, that I was Israeli, that I lived in Israel or anything. Because of the company I used to work for, I was not supposed to disclose my Israeli connections, because I went for them to a lot of African countries. I went to Malawi, to South Africa. I had to stamp on a separate page in my passport going to South Africa, because if I had a South African signature on my passport, I couldn't go into Malawi, for example. I couldn't go into Rhodesia. There was a lot of stories going on, but basically, I only wrote to Donovan's manager like about a year and a half ago when he came to visit here.
Yeah.
That I used to play with him, and I live here. And if she wants me to join, but I never got a response from her. But she was quite anti-Israeli, as far as I understand. But basically, nobody knew I was Israeli by that time.
Quite incredible.
Yeah, no, but I have a lot of stories about my London period.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you about the Beatles, because I ask everybody about the Beatles.
Yeah. The only one I knew which actually was connected to the Beatles was Alan Parsons.
Huh.
By the way, I met him. You can look at my Facebook. I met him last year when I was in Israel, and he recognized me immediately.
Wow.
Because he used to hang out in the music circle also, like everybody else in the music circle, until the Beatles called him to produce one of their albums. He produced one of their albums. So
no,
then,
I didn't know that.
Then he got his fame. But I didn't have any connection. Everybody in the 60s. I was in London from the 70s on, 70s, 80s, 90s. So I was playing Beatles material, but I never had any connection with them or any of their associated musicians, except for actually Alan Parsons. But that was very indirectly, if you understand.
So Shai, there's 2 things I want to ask you. First of all, what is your favorite Beatles song?
This is a very, very, very difficult question. This is a very difficult question. I would definitely say that my favorite album was Abbey Road.
Okay.
That is definite.
Okay.
songs, I would say Here Comes the Sun. That was one of it's a very, very difficult question. Let me think, because I know all of the Beatles stuff.
I know. So how about playing a Beatles tune? Maybe with the harmonica even.
I do with the singers I play with.
I know, that's my next question.
I actually do.
Shai, you know what? I'm going to ask you my next question.
I actually do Imagine.
Okay.
Which is John Lennon, but I still call it the Beatles. We do Yesterday.
Okay.
I used to do many years ago Blackbird, but I haven't practiced it since the 70s.
That's okay. So listen, you can pick a Beatles song, and my next question is going to be to you, and I think you know that I'm going to ask you this question. Why don't you sing?
I grew up, I told you, my mother was a singer. I grew up among excellent singers around me. And at a certain age, I was in a choir when I was a kid for a short time. I realized I don't have the voice. I cannot be a singer. I sing accurately, but I don't have the voice. I rather do harmonies. Not everybody has to be a singer. I enjoy and I think my target in life, my goal in life is actually to be a support to singers. I can play with the singers and make them sound better. And I think the result is much better than if I sing. I used to sing sometimes, but I was never actually very confident about my singing and about the way it came out.
But Shai, maybe it's a matter of confidence, you know, because I'm guessing that you're a really good singer, and that it's just more comfortable for you to support other people who are not more gifted than you are. So you're welcome to sing on my show. You know, nobody's listening. If you don't want to, you can play harmonica.
Yeah, but
you have to play me a song.
Yeah, but I think the singers I play with are much better singers than I am, because it takes much more than a voice. It takes charisma. It takes a way interpretation, and it takes a way to present a song. Because I see a lot of people singing with lyric in front of the face and singing. They don't know what they're singing about. There's nothing. I mean, it's better to listen to the music, recorded music. And this is why I used to do, since I spent a lot of time in London and Scotland, I used to do a lot of Scottish songs and a lot of English songs. Like one of the songs I used to do was Streets of London. Well, that was donkeys years ago, you know. But I can still try to sing it, but I don't know how my voice will keep it now.
I would love for you to sing a song. I would love for you to sing a song.
Let's see. Have you seen the old man outside the street or market, kicking at the papers with his torn shoes? In his eyes you see no pride, hands hanging limply at his side. Yesterday's papers, yesterday's news. How can you tell me you're lonely and say for you the sun don't shine? Let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of London. I'll show you something to make you change your mind. In the all-night cafe at a 11:15, same old man sitting there on his own, looking at the world over the rim of his teacup. It still lasts an hour, but he goes home alone. How can you tell me you're lonely and say for you the sun don't shine? Let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of London. I'll show you something to make you change your mind. These are 2 verses out of 4, but I think it gives you the idea, you know.
I think that you sing brilliantly.
Listen, and I know the song, I understand the lyrics, and actually these are songs that have to do a lot with me because I spent endless times walking in the streets of London, and I know that's what I was. Another story which I have to tell you about my London days. I had double life. You know what double life? I used to work in computers.
Yeah.
In the morning, I used to hang out with the highest capitalist institutes, with the banks, with the biggest company managers, with whatever you can say about the climax of capitalism. I used to hang out with them. I used to be dressed properly, and that is, they know nothing about my nightlife. At night, I used to hang out with the homeless, with the street musicians, with squatters who used to squat into buildings in London and live there because they have nowhere else to live. I mean, there were no low lives because they were happy. There were no low lives. They were happy, but they did not know nothing about what I was doing in the morning, and the people in the morning knew nothing because the 2 lives could not blend. And I was fortunate that it was never figured out until very late by mistake when I played in Cambridge Festival, and there was a close-up on me, and one of the bank managers saw me, and he asked me in the morning if I play also music, but that was actually the only. But I came out of it somehow. But
You told him it was your twin brother.
yeah. But I had 2 lives, you know. I knew all the street musicians. I'm in touch with most of them until very now.
Really?
Yeah, that.
So Shay Tochner, we're near the end of our program, and we still haven't heard a Beatles song.
Maybe I'll play a little bit of instrumental from.
And I want to ask you one more question before we go.
Yeah.
I'm giving a course on popular music in the first semester. I want to invite you as a guest to pick a popular song from 1927 to 1970 and to talk about why you think it's a wonderful song.
Why do I think it's a masterpiece and should live forever? From
A song that people do know, and then why?
From 73. I'll think about it.
Okay, great.
I
You don't have to answer. You don't have to answer me now.
Listen, I have so many vinyl records until now. Some of them are here, some of them are overseas still.
Wow.
I have to go over them, but I'm telling you, my favorite Beatles album is definitely Abbey Road. I haven't played it for so long.
Shai, I want to say something for those people who don't know you. When you perform, you are one of the most immaculate performers that I know. You're such a perfectionist. And what's remarkable about this interview is I managed to get you as Shay Tochner at home in his
How would I say my workroom?
in your workroom, and this is really the first time that I've ever heard you being you. And so I want to thank you. This has been really remarkable.
Thank you
And,
very much for having me.
I think that you are a remarkable person, and a wonderful musician. You know that I've always dreamed of performing with you, but you always had these very talented women. And with all these women, what do you need me for? And you don't play jazz, so you know. In Hebrew, we say halach alai.
I don't know. The one thing about perfectionism, what you're saying, listen, I think, I have very strict opinions about perfectionism. First of all, I really, really look after the bands I play with to sound and look perfect. Because I think that if people pay for that and they pay exactly to watch that, they should get what they paid for. And I cannot play with stand-up music in front of my face. I cannot play any concert with playback. I will not play with anybody who uses playback. It means the singers that sing with me, they know the lyrics by heart. And in worst case, they use a teleprompter on the floor that nothing stands between them and the audience. Some people are not ashamed to be with lyrics in front of their face, and the audience don't even see their face. I think this is it gets me very irritated to see that. I usually leave these performances, or if I hear playback, I leave. That's about my perfectionism. I think musicians should do the work in order to sound perfect as much as they can. And thank you very much for having me.
Oh, Shai, I'm honored that you came on the show. It was great hearing you unplugged, and stay healthy and continue to fascinate so many people with your wonderful music.
Thank you. And next time we ever do anything over the net, just let me in advance. I have all the equipment here. I have a sound card. I have everything. Takes some work to connect it and synchronize the camera with that.
So you start connecting, and then you let me know when you're ready, and we'll have another.
I
another
connected it many times. You know, during the lockdowns and everything, I played some tracks for many albums.
Okay.
I can send you something to listen to. So
No, I'll be delighted to have you on again.
yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Mel.
Thank you, Shay Tochner. It was great.
Bye.
Tada. And Shana Tova.
Not to buy, and hope to hear you soon performing somewhere.
Me too. Me too.
Think about a song. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.